We're official.
While the UN has denounced the civilian death toll as unacceptably high, there were few witnesses of the war zone as it was closed off to journalists and international observers. And now some Tamil doctors who saw the carnage have been jailed by the Sri Lankan government. Well, our correspondent Philippe Lopion has been investigating their case. Philippe, what do we know about these doctors?
Well, the last information I had was that the three of them were held in a notoriously bad interrogation center in Colombo. And no one has been able to meet with them except for an ICRC representative who said, quote unquote, that they were okay. But a lot of people are extremely worried about these people. A lot of people in the international community are asking for their release because a lot of people think that these guys were heroes, that they performed under horrendous conditions. They were the last ones to be with the displaced people on the beach, trying to treat the wounded. You have to know that these were people who were really badly wounded by heavy shellings on the beach. They had amputees, people with major and needing major surgeries. And here you had these three doctors trying to do what they could. They had no equipment left, and they were risking their lives on a daily basis to help these people.
Now, Philippe, these doctors could be key witnesses in an investigation into war crimes. What are they facing, and are their lives at risk?
Well, many people do think that their lives are at risk. I've talked to several human rights defenders in the country, and they do think that if there is ever a trial of how the Sri Lankan army behaved during the conflict, there will be star witness because they were right there. They saw the heavy shelling by the army on the civilian population. They saw the very consequences of it. They are credible people. They are articulate. They are doctors, so they are trustworthy. They were the main link with the UN and the rest of the world when no one else was allowed in the fighting zone. And people are worried for them because it would be very convenient for the government to silence them. You have to know that there is a long history in Sri Lanka of people disappearing. So what diplomats and other people are scared of is that the government could release them one day in the middle of the night, and they would leave the jail, and right after that they would be kidnapped by people in a car, in a small truck, and just disappear. And this is a scenario that has happened many times in the past.
All right, thanks very much, Philippe Bolopian, reporting there from Colombia.
And now, Daljit Dhaliwal.
The leader of the Tamil Tiger rebels, Vellupillai Prabhakaran, may be dead, but Sri Lanka's problems are far from over. To discuss the latest developments and the future of the Tamil people is Dr. Deepa Olapalli, Associate Director of the Seeger Center for Asian Studies at George Washington University. Deepa, welcome back to the program. Good to see you again.
Thank you.
So where does the country go from here, Deepa? What is the plan for what happens next?
Well, this is the big question right now, because one of the problems has been that with the new Sri Lankan government that's been in power for the last 4 years, we have never seen a political plan from their part for settling the Tamil Sinhalese conflict. It seemed as if they came into power with a military victory in mind and leaving aside all the political niceties. And so here we are today when they have obviously achieved a stunning military victory, but behind that, one wonders what the next steps are. And I think many of the things that drove this conflict, that fueled the Tamil insurgent movement, those grievances have really not been met yet. And the question is, what incentives does the government have now to make sure that they're able to now reach out and begin a reconciliation? That's not going to be very easy, given the kind of
well, if they have won the war, what incentives do they have to come up with any kind of far-reaching political solutions to this problem? And who's going to force their hand?
Right. Well, right now, of course, the government is facing some pressure from the international community to try and settle this conflict once and for all in a fair way to the Tamils, because right now the Tamils are without, as you know, without any real leadership. The Tigers were kind of concentrated their political power so much that there was very other options for the Tamil groups. And now here we are with without a real leadership, real political vacuum for the Tamils. And I think there's a danger that the Tamil minority is right now very vulnerable. They are really at the mercy of the government to come up with something. And I think there are some political patrons outside that could push the government toward this.
Of course, the Tamil diaspora,
the
who
Tamil
has
diaspora.
been very supportive in terms of funding and its political support and keeping the movement going all these years.
Well, that's certainly one group that has a lot to lose, because many of them, of course, are refugees from Sri Lanka, so they have a lot of connections back home. And right now, they would be a pressure group pushing the international community, the humanitarian organizations, United Nations, and so on, to keep the government honest, in a sense, to make them accountable and to deliver some of the promises that you do hear from the government right now, the need for more devolution of power. But, you know, the question is, we have heard many of these promises before, and in terms of giving autonomy, cultural, economic, political autonomy to the traditional Tamil areas in the north and in the east, one by one, these promises have been broken, and therefore that's part of the reason that the insurgency was fueled for 30+ years.
So at this particular juncture, what would be acceptable to the Tamil community?
The Tamils, the main grievance from the beginning has been that, you know, there's a lot of discrimination against the minority, both in terms of culture and economy. For instance, this started because in the 1950s they passed a Sinhala-only bill, which of course put the Tamil language at risk. In the 1970s, the government started a reverse affirmative action program favoring the majority, and therefore in jobs, in university admissions, and so on. So that again gave little confidence to the Tamils. So really, you've seen...
So none of these grievances really since the 1950s have been tackled either in jobs, in terms of education, in terms of giving parity to the Tamil language?
The only thing that has changed is the Tamil language. They a few years ago they made it a national language as well. But in terms of the other policies, no. And so and of course part of the problem has been that, you know, there've been a war waged for the last 30+ years, and so the negotiations that have taken place have never gone completely to the end to actually come to an understanding. So there's not a lot of faith, I think, on the part of the Tamils that somehow the government now, when they're standing victoriously, that they are in fact going to allow concessions and redress some of these grievances. On the other hand, this is a moment when the government clearly has the upper hand and can be perhaps magnanimous and more generous. And so one hopes that that's the path that the government will take.
Deepa Olapalli, great to have you back on the program. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.